In the early 1990s, Sega had established themselves with the 16-bit Mega Drive as one of the dominant players in the home console market worldwide. The 16-bit powerhouse was home to a number of arcade-style games, many of which would later see a conversion to the Sega Master System, which at the time was still an incredibly popular platform within the European and South American markets. Now, one of the games to be transferred across from the 16 bits to the 8 bits was Streets of Rage, a massive hit for Sega on the Mega Drive and converted down to the Sega Master System. So, without further ado, let's compare the two versions. Okay, first up here we have the Sega Mega Drive version. This is the original rendition of the game, and as you can see, it has a nice, attractive looking intro here. It's got some wonderful music, and you get that little bit of background going on about the story, so you don't have to read the manual. Which, let's be fair, most of us did anyway, because back then manuals could be quite interesting and had some quite interesting story options in them. You can hear the audio quality of the Mega Drive here, producing a wonderful bit of music in the background. Indeed, the entire soundtrack to the Streets of Rage series, all three of them, were done by Yuzo Koshiro, whose music is legendary for what he got out of the Mega Drive sound chip. This game, Shinobi, Streets of Rage 2 especially, are iconic. As you can see, you've got a choice here between three different characters. I always default to Axel, he's the balanced one. And here we go. As you can see, the game looks quite good. The sprites are a reasonable size and quite well animated. The backgrounds have got a nice amount of detail to them. It's a lovely urban scene. And, you know, the game looks good. It's smooth, it's responsive, it's fast. It's everything you want in a beat 'em up. Now, I'm not going to lie. This isn't the absolute peak of arcade style beat 'em ups from the time. At that time, the title was probably still held by Final Fight, but given that was an exclusive at the time on Nintendo's consoles, this was Sega's response for it, and it's a bloody good game as an alternative. I personally love this title, I always have. I think it's an excellent game, although it was massively superseded by the sequel, which is something we'll talk about on another day. Yeah, everything about this game's good. Fast, smooth, responsive, looks brilliant, sounds brilliant. It was a great package, and at the time it did soften the blow somewhat of not being able to get the game from Capcom that everybody wanted other than Street Fighter 2, which was Final Fight. Lots of enemies on screen as well here, really showing off the power of the Mega Drive. Anyway, moving on. Here's the Master System version. Now, I'll give the coders credit here. They were working with an incredibly limited piece of hardware. Bear in mind, you're stepping back from a Motorola 68,000 CPU to a Zilog Z80. But they do a pretty good job. You get the little bit of the intro here. Okay, you don't get the nice background graphics scrolling by in the background, but you do get basically the same storyline being shown, and the music isn't too bad. And amazingly, the music on this version was also done by Yuzo Koshiro. He took his own 16-bit compositions and reworked them for the, I think, 4-channel sound chip that the Master System used. And he did a pretty good job. Sound was never the Master System's strong point, but this game sounds pretty good. So much like the Mega Drive version, you have a choice of the 3 characters and a bit of a difficulty challenge here. And you can see straight away they've tried to ape the presentation of the Mega Drive game as much as possible, and the look. The sprites are probably as large, not quite as smoothly animated, not quite as fast either, but given the limitations of the system, this is an outstanding conversion. When you think what the Mega Drive was doing and the size of the graphics it was throwing around, the speed, this is a pretty good take on the same game. Yes, there are fewer enemies on screen, yes, the animation isn't as good, and as you can see, there's a fair bit of sprite flicker going on, but I'm fairly sure that when the Master System hardware was initially conceived, its designers never intended for games this relatively complex to be running on the hardware. This is by far and away one of the most adventurous conversions to the Master System out of any software titles I've ever seen. You are cramming what was a borderline arcade quality title from a 16-bit system onto a very limited 8-bit system. And you know what? It was great. This is one of those games, had the conversion gone the other way, people would have been raving about how much it had been upgraded, and had this been the first version to come out, people would probably have been raving about how great a game this was and how this was probably the best 8-bit scrolling beat 'em up. Certainly, apart from the sequel, the only real competition on the Master System in terms of recognition and quality would be Double Dragon, and this is far, far superior in my opinion to that title. So there you have it, folks. That was Streets of Rage on the Sega Mega Drive and the Sega Master System. Overall, I have to say, I think the Master System version is superb when you take into account the limitations of the machine, and frankly, it was far better than anyone could ever have hoped to have made it. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you want to see more of my content, you can check out other stuff on my channel, and you can subscribe to me. If you don't like the video, click the don't like button. Either way, leave a comment and let me know what you think. But until next time, this is Learned Rob saying so long.